Lieutenant Sarah Collins walked onto fort with a mixture of pride and determination. The morning sun glinted off her crisp uniform, her boots clicking against the concrete as she approached the briefing hall. She had trained for years to reach this point, countless hours spent in simulations, long nights memorizing tactical strategies, and exhausting physical drills that had tested her endurance. Yet nothing could fully prepare her for the subtle tension that permeated the base. The eyes of seasoned soldiers followed her every step, some curious, others skeptical. But one in particular, Sergeant Mark, made his disdain obvious. Was a grizzled veteran with scars that hinted at decades of service. His reputation for toughness was only matched by his arrogance. He had seen countless officers come and go, and he was especially critical of newcomers who he believed hadn't earned their stripes. When Sarah entered the room, he leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, a smirk forming on his weathered face. Well, what do we have here? Another lieutenant thinking she can lead men and women who've been in the field since you were in diapers. His voice carried authority, tinged with mockery. The room fell silent, all eyes shifting between the two of them. Sarah stopped, her spine straight, refusing to let intimidation dictate her response. She could feel the weight of the room's expectation, the subtle judgment of those who wondered if she could survive under scrutiny. She forced herself to breathe evenly, her mind racing with a mix of strategy and defiance. "Good morning, Sergeant," she said calmly, her voice firm but polite. "I'm Lieutenant Collins, and I look forward to working with this team." The smirk on face widened, almost predatory. "Working with them, you say? We'll see about that. Leadership isn't something you earn by showing up in a shiny uniform, Lieutenant. Out there, it's about experience, quick thinking, and guts. Let's see if you have any of it." Sarah's eyes flicked over the squad assembled behind him, young soldiers fresh from training alongside hardened veterans, all shifting uncomfortably under the tension. She could sense the unspoken question. Could she really lead them, or was she another officer destined to falter? She knew this first interaction could set the tone for every mission, every briefing, every decision. Failure wasn't just personal. It could undermine her authority before she even had a chance to demonstrate competence. As the briefing commenced, deliberately framed questions in a way meant to embarrass her. "Lieutenant, tell me how you would handle a sudden enemy ambush in unfamiliar terrain," he asked, voice dripping with sarcasm. Heads turned toward her, expecting hesitation. But Sarah was ready. She had studied countless scenarios, memorized tactical principles, and trained rigorously for unpredictable combat situations. With clarity, she outlined a multi-layered response. Reconnaissance, utilizing terrain for cover, coordinating squad movements to minimize risk, and preparing contingency plans. Her explanation was precise, confident, and grounded in practicality. She maintained eye contact with, her composure unshaken, and the subtle nods of some soldiers confirmed her strategy had merit. For a moment, smirk faltered, replaced by a flicker of genuine curiosity and perhaps reluctant respect, but he quickly masked it with a scoff. "Impressive on paper, Lieutenant. Let's see if you can do it when the stakes are real." The tension escalated as she moved into the field with her squad for a routine exercise designed to test leadership and cohesion. Followed, observing silently, his eyes sharp and critical. The squad faced an obstacle course, uneven terrain, simulated enemy fire, and complex problem-solving scenarios. His plan was obvious: push her to her limits, see if she would crack under pressure. The first challenge came swiftly. A team member simulated an injury halfway through a timed maneuver. The squad froze, unsure who would take charge. Gaze was sharp, expecting hesitation. Sarah didn't flinch. She stepped forward, issuing clear instruction, delegating tasks efficiently and adapting to unexpected variables. The team moved in coordinated precision under her guidance, and for the first time, some soldiers exchanged glances of surprise, impressed by her quick thinking. Noticing this, tried a more subtle form of intimidation. He moved closer, questioning her decisions aloud, highlighting potential flaws and emphasizing risks. He hoped to rattle her to sow doubt among the squad, but Sarah remained unshaken. She addressed his concerns with tactical reasoning, explaining the logic behind each decision. Her tone was firm yet respectful, and the team's trust in her began to grow. By the time the exercise concluded, it was clear that Sarah's leadership had produced results. The squad had navigated the challenges effectively, casualties were avoided in the simulation, and coordination was tight. Expression remained unreadable, though the tight line of his jaw suggested he recognized her competence despite himself. The seeds of respect were planted, though grudgingly, and Sarah knew the true test was only beginning. Back at the barracks, as the soldiers packed up, whispers circulated about the lieutenant who had remained calm under pressure, who had led decisively while facing overt skepticism from a veteran sergeant. Some of the newer recruits approached Sarah quietly, offering tentative words of encouragement. She smiled, acknowledging their support while keeping her focus on the larger picture, earning full trust, navigating resistance, and proving that leadership was measured by action, not assumptions. That night, as Sarah reviewed the day's events in her private quarters, she reflected on the confrontation with. She knew that on this base, authority was tested constantly, and prejudice often masked itself as experience. Yet she felt a sense of calm determination. She wasn't here to argue with egos. She was here to lead, to protect, and to succeed. Every challenge, every skeptical glance, every whispered doubt was fuel, sharpening her focus and resolve. Tomorrow the exercises would escalate. Simulations would test split-second decision-making, trust, and endurance. Would continue to watch, continue to challenge, and continue to push her limits. But Sarah Collins was ready. The first day had set the stage for a battle of intellect, courage, and leadership, not just against external challenges, but against the subtle, insidious resistance of prejudice. She would not just survive. She intended to lead, to win, and to earn respect on her own terms. Somewhere deep down, she knew that Sergeant would witness it firsthand. The next morning, dawn arrived with an icy wind that cut through Fort's training grounds. Lieutenant Sarah Collins adjusted her gloves and boots, scanning the sprawling obstacle course laid out before her squad. The course was infamous, designed to push soldiers physically, mentally, and emotionally. But today it carried another purpose. Sergeant Mark had engineered it not merely as a test of skill, but as a challenge aimed squarely at Sarah. His scowl was sharp as he watched her assemble the team, each movement scrutinized. "Let's see if the lieutenant's brilliance survives reality," he muttered under his breath. The squad lined up, breathing clouds of mist into the cold air. Sarah took a deep breath, her mind focused, ignoring glare. "Listen up," she commanded, her voice steady and confident. "This course is about teamwork, observation, and adaptability. We move as one. Mistakes are lessons, hesitation costs time, and indecision can get someone hurt. We stick together and watch each other's backs." Her words carried authority without arrogance, and some soldiers exchanged approving glances. Stepped forward, voice booming, designed to intimidate. "Lieutenant, you're in charge here, but don't expect miracles. I've seen rookies crumble under pressure. Lead us if you can, or we'll finish without you." His smirk lingered as he deliberately highlighted the challenges ahead. Balancing beams over water, rope climbs, simulated ambushes, and puzzle stations requiring coordination under stress. Every obstacle was designed to test more than physical skill. It demanded strategy, patience, and leadership under scrutiny. The first challenge was deceptively simple: cross a series of unstable platforms over a shallow trench filled with cold water. Soldiers hesitated, evaluating risks. Sarah stepped forward, demonstrating her own crossing technique, then instructed the team to move systematically, supporting one another. Watched with thinly veiled disdain as she adjusted her approach mid-course, signaling to a soldier struggling with balance. The team moved more efficiently than he expected, a subtle change in their demeanor reflecting trust in her guidance. Next came a simulated ambush. Smoke bombs erupted, accompanied by loud bangs and shouted commands. Eyes narrowed, this was his favorite test. He had prepared for Sarah to falter, to hesitate in chaos. Instead, she moved with clarity, issuing concise instructions, assigning roles without panic. Cover left flank, secure the perimeter, move casualties to safety. her voice cut through the chaos. Soldiers responded instinctively, executing her orders with precision. Even found himself forced to follow her lead, though he refused to admit it openly. Midway through the course, a team member injured their ankle, collapsing onto the cold ground. Grinned, anticipating hesitation. He expected Sarah to falter under the moral and logistical challenge. Instead, she approached swiftly, assessing the situation calmly. "You're going to need support. Jackson, secure the line. Help me stabilize him." She organized the evacuation methodically, assigning tasks efficiently while keeping communication clear. The team executed the plan flawlessly, and the injured soldier was safely guided to the next checkpoint without losing time. Scowl deepened. His plan was unraveling, his subtle manipulations had failed. He attempted verbal sabotage next, loudly questioning her choices at each station. "Why risk 2 soldiers on that crossing? Why send the medic there first? You'll get us all stuck." Sarah's responses were composed, her explanations rooted in tactical reasoning and risk assessment. Each rebuttal was calm, logical, and authoritative. With every correct decision, the team's confidence grew, while authority as the intimidating figure waned, though he refused to show defeat. The final portion of the course was a puzzle station requiring coordination under pressure. Soldiers had to decode signals and move in synchrony while under simulated enemy fire. Expected confusion and hesitation, yet Sarah's clear instructions and adaptability led the squad to success. She observed constantly, adjusting strategies in real time, noticing weaknesses and compensating before they became critical. Soldiers moved with confidence, responding to subtle cues and reassured by her calm authority. By the end, it was evident. She had not only guided them through a demanding course but had inspired cohesion and trust. After completing the obstacle course, the squad gathered for debriefing, faces flushed with effort and accomplishment. Soldiers nodded in quiet respect, some offering subtle smiles, acknowledging her leadership without words. Remained rigid, his scowl unchanged, though his eyes betrayed a grudging recognition of her ability. Sarah maintained composure, neither seeking praise nor allowing ego to dominate. "You performed well," she said, addressing the team. "Mistakes were corrected, coordination improved, and we completed every challenge efficiently. That's leadership in action." Evening settled across the base, casting long shadows over the barracks. Sarah returned to her quarters, exhausted but exhilarated. She reflected on the day's events. Attempts to intimidate, the squad's initial hesitance, and the subtle shift in trust toward her. It was a delicate balance, leading without overstepping, asserting authority without arrogance, inspiring confidence without demanding it. Each decision had consequences, and she had navigated the field with precision, earning respect quietly but effectively. Meanwhile, sat in the training hall reviewing the course outcomes. His pride wrestled with reality. Sarah Collins had expectations, handled chaos with skill, and maintained authority under pressure. He felt an unfamiliar twinge of uncertainty. Could he openly admit her competence? Not yet, but the realization gnawed at him. Leadership, he had always believed, came only with years in the field, but this lieutenant had shown a clarity and decisiveness he could not ignore. The evening was quiet, but tension simmered under the surface. Tomorrow, the exercises would escalate, testing endurance, strategy, and the subtle interplay of trust and authority even further. Sarah understood that would continue to challenge her, attempting every means to undermine her influence. But she was prepared. Her resolve had been strengthened by today's triumph, small as it was in the grand scheme of her career. As she prepared for rest, Sarah glanced at her packed gear, reviewing mental notes of what the next day might hold. Every obstacle, every verbal challenge, every glance of doubt or skepticism was fuel. She would meet intimidation with strategy, doubt with composure, and resistance with evidence of capability. Sargent had tried to break her, but she had navigated the first test with clarity, earning respect quietly, decisively, and without compromise. Tomorrow, the real challenge would begin, not just the obstacle course, but the delicate, high-stakes dance of leadership, ego, and trust. And Lieutenant Sarah Collins was ready to prove, not just to but to the entire squad, that true leadership was earned through action, not assumptions. The morning sun barely crested the horizon when a call came down from the command center. Lieutenant Sarah Collins had barely finished her routine inspection when her communicator crackled. "Collins, report to Command Briefing Room Alpha immediately." She felt her pulse quicken. This was not a routine assignment. The urgency in the officer's voice implied something critical. She adjusted her uniform, squared her shoulders, and made her way through the corridors, aware of every eye watching her, some curious, others skeptical. Sergeant followed behind, his expression unreadable, a shadow of both doubt and suspicion in his gaze. Inside the briefing room, the commanding officer, Colonel, a seasoned strategist with years of operational experience, stood waiting. Maps and satellite images adorned the walls, showing a remote area overseas marked in red. The images depicted a village where hostages, civilians, were being held by a militant group. The mission was high risk, requiring precision, speed, and leadership that could coordinate a diverse squad under extreme stress. Soldiers and analysts were gathered, murmuring among themselves, exchanging tentative glances. Colonel gaze fell on Sarah. "Lieutenant Collins," he said, his tone deliberate, "we need someone with both tactical acumen and calm under pressure. We believe you are the right officer to lead this operation." A hush swept through the room, stiffened visibly, his jaw tightening. "Excuse me, sir," he interrupted. "With all due respect, this is a high-stakes mission. Lieutenant Collins is inexperienced in real-world operations. I volunteer to lead instead." Sarah felt the weight of the room's attention, but she did not flinch. "Colonel, I understand the gravity of this mission," she said clearly. "I've trained extensively for field operations, and I am prepared to lead with precision, strategy, and the team's safety as my priority." Her calm composure contrasted sharply with bristling intensity. Colonel studied the two of them, the tension thick. Finally, after a moment of silence, he nodded. "Collins, you will lead. You will support. Your duty is to execute the plan, not challenge it." Face darkened, but he held his tongue. The rest of the squad looked at Sarah, some unsure, others curious. She could feel the uncertainty radiating from those loyal to. Some young soldiers whispered doubts. Can she really handle it? What if undermines her? Sarah absorbed it all without reaction. Every doubt, every whispered concern only strengthened her resolve. Leadership was never about winning every supporter immediately. It was about earning trust through action. Back at the squad's preparation area, Sarah reviewed intelligence reports, satellite images, and logistical details. The hostages were being held in a fortified location with multiple entry points, surveillance cameras, and heavily armed guards. Terrain data revealed steep hills, dense foliage, and narrow paths that could either conceal movement or trap the squad if miscalculated. Timing was crucial. A misstep could alert the enemy, endangering lives. Hovered near her, occasionally muttering critiques. She didn't respond, but internally cataloged his concerns, weighing their validity against her strategy. She called the squad together, briefing them with precision. "We'll approach under cover of darkness," she began, her finger tracing routes on a detailed map. "Alpha Team will flank from the east, securing perimeter access points. Bravo Team will advance silently through the northern ridge, creating diversion while minimizing exposure. Our objective is to neutralize hostile forces and extract civilians with zero casualties. Every movement is critical. Every decision matters. Trust your training, follow orders, and rely on your teammates." Eyes shifted to, and she could see the tightness in his posture. He was resistant, but the squad's subtle attention drifted toward her plan. Soldiers nodded in quiet approval, and a few exchanged glances, recognizing her foresight and clarity. For the first time, some who had questioned her leadership began to believe in her capability. The shift was small, almost imperceptible, but it was there. A crack in the wall of skepticism had built around the team. As the squad packed gear and checked weapons, Sarah conducted a silent mental rehearsal. Every possible scenario played in her mind: ambushes, snipers, booby traps, and sudden environmental hazards. She assessed each soldier's strengths, placing them in roles where they could excel under pressure. Muttered objections intermittently, but she allowed him to voice them without confrontation, recognizing that forcing acceptance would be counterproductive. Leadership, she reminded herself, required patience and adaptability, not ego. When the convoy departed for the staging area, Sarah sat in the lead vehicle, reviewing comms and protocols. The soldiers' chatter was subdued, each aware of the mission's stakes. Sat behind her, silent but vigilant, his eyes scanning terrain and team interactions. Sarah maintained focus, issuing calm, concise instructions over the radio, adjusting for minor delays and terrain challenges. The tension was palpable. Every soldier understood the gravity of what awaited them. Night fell, the shadows stretching across the convoy route. Distant sounds of wildlife and shifting foliage reminded them of the natural obstacles ahead. Sarah's eyes, sharp and alert, scanned the surroundings for any anomalies. Small details, a broken branch, a disturbed patch of dirt, could indicate enemy presence. She made real-time adjustments, redirecting vehicles and issuing hand signals to the teams moving on foot. Occasional murmurs of concern were noted but not engaged. She had earned authority through preparation, precision, and calm decisiveness, not confrontation. By the time they reached the base camp near the target area, exhaustion and anticipation blended. Soldiers checked equipment repeatedly, but morale was steady. Sarah addressed the squad one last time before the final approach. "We know our mission. We know our risks. Trust your training, trust each other, and trust the plan. We move together and we move with purpose. Hesitation now could cost lives, so commit fully. This is our moment to act decisively, and I trust every one of you to succeed." Met her gaze briefly. For the first time, there was a flicker of recognition, acknowledgement that she had meticulously prepared, accounted for every variable, and inspired cautious confidence in the squad. He did not speak, but his silence was a subtle concession. Sarah felt no triumph in that moment. The real test lay ahead in the field, where split-second decisions, trust, and execution would determine whether this mission succeeded or ended in disaster. As the team settled in for a brief rest before the final approach, Sarah reviewed the plan once more. Every variable, every contingency, every route had been considered. She knew presence would challenge her authority, but she was ready to meet every challenge with strategy, calmness, and resolve. This was no longer a training exercise. This was reality. The mission's outcome would hinge not on titles or assumptions, but on leadership in action, decisiveness under pressure, and trust forged in the crucible of imminent danger. And deep in her mind, Sarah Collins prepared herself for the defining moment of her early career, where her choices, clarity, and courage would be tested not in theory, but in life and death. Night had fully settled over the rugged terrain as Lieutenant Sarah Collins led her squad toward the hostage location. The air was thick with anticipation, every rustle of leaves and distant animal cry magnifying the tension. Soldiers moved in single file, eyes sharp, weapons ready, hearts pounding. Sarah took point, scanning the darkened landscape for signs of danger. Her mind was a constant calculation of angles, distances, and contingencies. Behind her, Sergeant followed silently, his posture rigid, eyes darting over every movement, both scrutinizing and begrudgingly respecting her leadership. The first obstacle appeared unexpectedly, a narrow gorge with a swiftly flowing stream cutting across their path. Sarah evaluated the area quickly, weighing the risks of crossing directly versus finding a longer but safer route. "Alpha Team, left flank. Use the fallen logs to secure the crossing," she instructed, her voice calm but firm. Soldiers hesitated briefly, glancing at the swift current. Muttered under his breath, questioning the choice, but Sarah ignored the comment, focusing on execution. Step by step, the squad moved carefully, covering one another, each decision precise, reinforcing confidence in her leadership. As they advanced, they encountered their first enemy surveillance patrol, a group of 3 scouts patrolling the ridge above. Sarah crouched low, signaling hand gestures to her team. "Suppress quietly. No unnecessary engagement. Move on my mark." She coordinated a silent takedown, each movement synchronized, every soldier responding instantly. Jaw tightened, her strategy was flawless. The squad moved past the patrol without detection, proving her ability to anticipate threats and act decisively. For the first time, criticism faltered, replaced by reluctant acknowledgement, though he kept it hidden behind a scowl. The terrain grew harsher, steep inclines and dense foliage slowed their advance. Sarah adjusted the squad's pace, ensuring communication remained consistent. Every team member knew their role, covering blind spots, monitoring for traps and maintaining radio silence. The tension was palpable. One misstep could alert the enemy. Sarah's calm direction steadied nerves. Soldiers began to rely on her judgment instinctively, subtly shifting allegiance from doubt to trust. Even murmured objections became less frequent, his focus reluctantly drawn to operational success rather than ego. Midway through the journey, a simulated hazard occurred, a sudden flash from a nearby tree line mimicking gunfire. Some soldiers instinctively froze. Sarah reacted instantly, repositioning her team, issuing clear instructions. Take cover, suppress and advance. Jackson, cover east, flank north. Every command was precise, minimizing confusion. The squad executed flawlessly, advancing toward the designated objective while maintaining security. Forced to follow, could not dispute her tactical decisions in real time. He found himself watching in astonishment as the squad moved with cohesion he had doubted they possessed under her leadership. They reached a small clearing, ideal for observation of the hostile compound. Sarah used the vantage point to survey enemy positions, counting guards, noting blind spots, and assessing terrain for entry points. Squinting at the map she had drawn offered a rare suggestion, one she had anticipated. She integrated it seamlessly, demonstrating adaptability and openness to collaboration. The team's trust deepened. Soldiers whispered words of approval to each other, recognizing her ability to make calculated decisions under pressure while remaining flexible. As they approached the final ridge before the compound, Sarah called for a brief halt. Sweat mixed with the dirt of the journey, hearts raced, and the weight of the mission pressed down. "Listen carefully," she said, her voice steady. "We're entering a heavily guarded area. Precision is key. Stick to your roles, follow my lead. We protect each other, we protect the hostages, and we act decisively. Hesitation now could cost lives." Every soldier absorbed her words, the weight of responsibility clear. Remained silent, watching, forced to respect the clarity and authority in her tone. The final approach required navigating a minefield of potential hazards, tripwires, natural traps, and enemy patrols. Sarah directed movements with subtle hand signals and quiet whispers. Each decision was calculated to minimize risk while positioning the squad for optimal entry. The tension was suffocating. Every soldier knew that the smallest mistake could jeopardize the mission. Sarah's composure served as an anchor. Her eyes scanned constantly, evaluating each movement, anticipating danger and correcting course as needed. Sharp eyes, previously focused on criticism, now involuntarily followed her every adjustment, his respect growing despite himself. Suddenly, an unexpected challenge emerged. A pair of enemy snipers had been stationed at an uncharted location, unseen in earlier reconnaissance. Bullets whizzed past, narrowly missing the squad. Sarah's mind raced. Split teams, suppress fire, flank left, move. Her rapid commands turned potential chaos into coordinated action. Soldiers moved with precision, covering each other, neutralizing threats and maintaining the mission's focus. Compelled to follow her orders without hesitation, witnessed firsthand her ability to think under extreme pressure. The squad survived the ambush without casualties, a testament to her decisive leadership. By dawn, the squad reached a secondary staging area near the hostile compound. Exhaustion mixed with relief as soldiers paused to catch their breath. Sarah reviewed the final approach, recalibrating routes and positions, accounting for fatigue and environmental challenges. Her leadership had held the team together under relentless stress, and trust had quietly but unmistakably approached briefly, offering a curt nod. It was small, almost imperceptible, but it carried acknowledgement. She had proven competence in the field. The mission was far from over. The hostages still awaited rescue and the compound remained heavily guarded. Sarah knew the next phase, entry and extraction, would demand every ounce of skill, every decision precise, and every soldier's trust unwavering. Yet the squad had learned to follow her instinctively. Hesitation had been replaced with confidence, doubt with focus. Even, hardened by years of service and skepticism, had no choice but to defer to her lead. As the first rays of sunlight lit the horizon, Sarah addressed her squad one final time before the assault. "This is it," she said. "Every moment counts. Every decision matters. Stay alert. Trust your training. Trust each other. Follow my lead and we will succeed together." The soldiers nodded, determination evident in their eyes. Standing slightly apart, allowed himself a silent acknowledgement of her authority. The real test awaited them. The moment when strategy, courage, and leadership would collide with danger, uncertainty, and the chaos of the battlefield. And deep inside, Sarah knew that this mission was more than a test of skill. It was a test of character, leadership, and resilience. The journey had begun, and every step forward would reveal the true measure of a leader, and the respect she had earned was about to be tested in the crucible of real combat. The squad had advanced to the outskirts of the hostile compound, the terrain uneven and littered with debris. The first light of dawn barely illuminated the rugged hills, casting long shadows over the landscape. Tension crackled in the air like static. Every soldier's senses were sharpened to a razor's edge. Sarah Collins crouched behind a ridge, surveying enemy positions through her binoculars. Her calculations were precise. Guard rotations, patrol paths, and surveillance points memorized. Every detail mattered, every misstep could be fatal. Crouched nearby, arms crossed, his expression tense, a reluctant acknowledgement of her meticulous planning. First major confrontation erupted suddenly. A squad of enemy soldiers emerged from a side path, weapons raised, their movements rapid and aggressive. Bullets whizzed past, kicking up dust and dirt as the team dived for cover. Panic flared in the eyes of less experienced soldiers, and even the seasoned veterans felt the sting of adrenaline. "Hold your positions, cover each other," Sarah commanded sharply, projecting calm authority through the chaos. Her voice cut through fear, bringing order to the chaos. Soldiers moved according to her commands, advancing strategically, suppressing enemy fire and maintaining cohesion. Froze for a fraction of a second, indecision flickering across his face. He was trained for combat, but the intensity of Sarah's command and the precision of her maneuvers surprised him. She moved deliberately, leading from the front, coordinating suppressive fire and flanking maneuvers, constantly adjusting the squad's positions in response to enemy movements. Every decision was rapid yet calculated, balancing aggression with caution. Soldiers began to rely instinctively on her commands, executing her plan with precision that surprised even. The squad split under her direction. Alpha Team created a diversion, drawing enemy attention, while Bravo Team flanked from a hidden ridge. Sarah herself moved with the latter, guiding them silently, signaling adjustments through hand gestures and short, precise whispers. The enemy, caught off guard by the coordinated assault, faltered. Sarah seized the moment, ordering a controlled advance, using the terrain to minimize exposure and maximize impact. Bullets ricocheted off rocks, and smoke from small explosives filled the air, adding to the confusion. Despite the chaos, Sarah remained composed. Her eyes scanned constantly, noting weaknesses in enemy positions, anticipating reinforcements and adjusting squad placement. Watching her felt a gnawing mix of pride and disbelief. She was making split-second decisions under extreme stress, and each choice was effective. He realized he had underestimated her ability to lead, but his stubborn pride prevented him from acknowledging it openly. Instead, he followed her instructions with precision, contributing to the squad's efficiency. A sudden explosion to the east forced a rapid. Sarah immediately redirected the team, prioritizing the safety of civilians in the area while continuing to suppress enemy fire. She coordinated communications between Alpha and Bravo teams, ensuring movements were synchronized. Every soldier knew their role and acted decisively. Hesitation was minimized, casualties avoided, and the squad maintained cohesion despite the intensity of the firefight. The operation's momentum remained firmly under Sarah's control, a testament to her preparation and clarity under pressure. The turning point came when an enemy squad attempted a flanking maneuver to cut off Bravo team. Sarah observed the movement through her scope and immediately countered. Left flank cover, push forward, coordinate suppressive fire with. Soldiers executed her commands flawlessly, intercepting the enemy before they could reach their objective. The confrontation was brutal but brief. The squad maintained control, neutralizing the threat while sustaining minimal risk. Confidence surged among the team. Sarah's calm, decisive leadership had turned potential disaster into an advantage. Witnessing the outcome, finally allowed himself a moment of silent recognition. He did not speak, but his eyes betrayed the acknowledgement he refused to voice. Sarah had not only survived the ambush, but she had leveraged it to strengthen the squad's position. Her tactics were precise, her commands clear, and her foresight impeccable. The soldiers, inspired by her example, moved with renewed determination. The dynamic of trust and respect had shifted unmistakably. She had earned their confidence through action, not persuasion. As the smoke cleared and enemy resistance waned, Sarah gathered the team behind a ridge. Faces were flushed, breathing heavy, yet morale remained high. She quickly assessed each soldier, checking for injuries and readiness, demonstrating care alongside tactical brilliance. "Good work," she said, her voice firm yet encouraging. "We maintained control, minimized risk, and adapted to every challenge. Stay alert. The mission isn't over." Her acknowledgement of their efforts reinforced unity and motivation, subtly weaving respect and trust into the fabric of the squad. The dawn revealed the terrain around the compound more clearly. Enemy forces were regrouping, cautious after the failed flanking attempt. Sarah adjusted the plan for the final approach, considering the squad's current strength, positioning, and stamina. Every soldier trusted her assessment, following directions without hesitation. Now fully engaged in execution rather than criticism, coordinated suppressive fire under her guidance, his gruff voice aligning with her strategy. The subtle transition in his demeanor marked a shift. Reluctant respect had begun to replace resistance. The squad advanced strategically, clearing obstacles and monitoring every approach. Sarah's decisions balanced aggression with prudence, ensuring they maintained tactical advantage while minimizing risk. The team moved like a single organism, synchronized in thought and action. Each soldier's trust in her leadership with every step, every successful maneuver reinforcing the authority she had earned through competence and calm under fire. Presence, once a source of tension, now complemented her guidance, the partnership a silent testament to her capability. By mid-morning, the squad had gained a strong foothold near the hostile compound, poised for the critical next phase. Sarah took a moment to survey the area, calculating angles of approach, observing enemy reinforcements, and considering extraction paths for hostages. The first major engagement had been survived and turned to advantage, proving her ability to lead under extreme stress. The squad's cohesion and confidence were evident, a reflection of her calm decisiveness, foresight, and adaptability. Though still silent, had begun to internalize the reality. She was a leader who could be trusted in the chaos of combat. The turning point had passed, but the mission was far from complete. Sarah knew that the real test was ahead: entry into the compound, rescue of the hostages, and extraction under enemy fire. Every skill, every decision, and every ounce of courage would be necessary. The squad's trust in her was solid, but a grudging respect would still need to withstand the ultimate test. As they prepared to move forward, Sarah took a deep breath, centering herself, ready to lead them through the most dangerous phase of the operation. The squad approached the compound cautiously, every movement deliberate, every sound amplified in the pre-dawn quiet. Lieutenant Sarah Collins motioned for a halt behind a low stone wall, her eyes scanning the fortified structure ahead. The satellite imagery had provided an initial layout, but real-time observation revealed changes. Reinforcements had arrived, and patrol patterns were unpredictable. Her heart raced with controlled intensity. Every second mattered. Crouched beside her, muttering quietly, analyzing her plan but not offering interference. Sarah ignored his tone. Her focus was on the lives at stake, the mission, and the trust her squad now placed in her. Inside the compound, hostages had been moved to an inner courtyard. Civilians, terrified and vulnerable, huddled under the watch of armed guards. Sarah assessed multiple factors: number of hostiles, defensive positions, possible escape routes, and environmental hazards. One wrong move could trigger alarm systems, endangering the hostages and the team. She had anticipated many contingencies, but unpredictability was the nature of live operations. "We move fast, precise, and coordinated," she whispered to her squad. "Alpha Team provides diversion. Bravo Team breaches from the north. Suppress and secure, then extract civilians immediately. Follow my signals exactly." The squad split according to her plan. Alpha Team, under her direct guidance, created a controlled diversion, setting off small noise devices to draw guards away from the inner courtyard. Simultaneously, Bravo Team moved silently along the northern ridge, positioning themselves for the breach. Sarah directed every movement with calm authority, signaling with hand gestures, subtle nods, and concise whispers over radios. Soldiers executed perfectly, demonstrating the cohesion and trust Sarah had painstakingly built. Positioned to cover their flank, followed her strategy without argument, a silent acknowledgement of her authority and skill. Suddenly, an alarm was triggered. A guard had discovered part of the team and raised a warning shout. Chaos erupted. Gunfire echoed through the compound as the enemy scrambled to defend the hostages. Sarah's mind worked instantly. Suppress, cover left flank, move civilians to safe zone now. Her orders cut through panic. Every soldier responded immediately, adjusting positions, neutralizing threats, and maintaining the delicate balance between aggression and caution. Fired in coordination with her commands, his previous criticisms replaced with tactical execution. Amidst the chaos, one soldier hesitated near a blocked exit, frozen by fear. Sarah darted forward, physically guiding him while issuing concise instructions. "Keep moving, protect the hostages, focus," her presence reassured him. The rest of the team executed coordinated maneuvers, clearing hallways and neutralizing armed guards. Bullets ricocheted off walls, smoke filled the air, and shouts rang out, but Sarah's calm authority turned potential disorder into strategic action. Every movement was precise, every decision calculated to minimize casualties while maximizing mission success. One critical moment arrived when a secondary group of hostiles attempted to flank the squad from the courtyard's east side. Sarah immediately identified the threat. "Flank team, intercept. Cover civilians now. Suppress east side." Soldiers reacted with trained precision, interposing themselves between the civilians and danger. In moments, the enemy flank was neutralized. For the first time openly, nodded toward Sarah, his respect unmasked by the relief and admiration in his eyes. She had anticipated the move, adapted instantly, and maintained control under extreme pressure. The squad advanced deeper into the courtyard, locating hostages huddled under armed guard. Sarah made a rapid decision, a coordinated strike to neutralize remaining threats while securing the civilians. "Move in 3, 2, 1, execute." The team surged forward in perfect synchrony, subduing the enemy with minimal risk. Civilians were shielded by the squad's formation, guided quickly to the pre-designated extraction points. The operation's high stakes intensified, but Sarah's calm decisiveness and precise coordination ensured efficiency. Each soldier moved with confidence, following her example, inspired by her courage and leadership. Despite the successful breach, the crisis intensified. Enemy reinforcements approached the compound, alerted by the earlier alarm. Sarah recognized the urgency. Secure hostages, evacuate along Route Delta, cover fire, Bravo team, lead extraction. Soldiers acted without hesitation. Civilians were moved in formation, guided through safe corridors while suppressive fire from strategic positions held back approaching threats. The operation balanced urgency with caution, a testament to Sarah's ability to lead decisively under extreme stress. Tactical coordination complemented her plan, forming an unexpected, efficient partnership. The squad reached the extraction point with hostages secured. Their path back was dangerous, requiring constant vigilance. Sarah remained vigilant, scanning for potential ambushes, adjusting the squad's pace, and maintaining clear communication. Her authority was unquestioned. Every soldier moved instinctively according to her commands. Now fully aligned with her strategy, covered flanks, his expertise enhancing the squad's efficiency. The crisis had tested her leadership to its limits, and she had adapted flawlessly, maintaining control, protecting lives, and ensuring mission success under extreme pressure. Finally, after tense and exhausting moments, the squad emerged from the compound and reached a safe extraction zone. Relief mingled with exhaustion. Civilians were safe, threats neutralized, and the squad remained intact. Sarah conducted a rapid, ensuring no one was left behind. The weight of the operation lifted slightly, but her focus remained steady. Mission protocols required careful attention until the team was fully secure, every detail accounted for. Approached her briefly, a nod and a quiet, "You handled that flawlessly," spoken with rare sincerity. It was the first verbal acknowledgement of respect he had offered. As helicopters descended to extract the hostages, Sarah oversaw the final phase of the operation. Civilians were loaded safely, medical checks initiated, and soldiers prepared for extraction. Every movement was precise, minimizing exposure to remaining threats. Working seamlessly with her direction, provided cover while she coordinated the team's final positions. The crisis had tested every aspect of her leadership: strategy, decisiveness, adaptability, and the ability to inspire confidence under life-threatening conditions. She had passed, and the squad's cohesion and trust had been cemented permanently. Once the team was aboard the extraction helicopters, Sarah allowed herself a moment of reflection. The hostages were safe, enemy forces had been neutralized, and her leadership had been tested under extreme conditions. Once her most vocal critic now regarded her with quiet, genuine respect. The squad's morale was high, their trust in her unwavering. Every challenge, every crisis had reinforced her authority, her competence, and the lesson that leadership was not about ego but action, decisiveness, and responsibility. The helicopter lifted off, leaving the hostile compound behind. Exhaustion and relief mingled in the squad, but Sarah's focus remained on analysis and debriefing. She had navigated the most critical phase of the mission with precision, ensuring lives were protected and objectives achieved. Remained silent beside her, a subtle but unmistakable symbol of grudging respect and acknowledgement of her capabilities. The crisis had passed, but the lessons and trust forged in the crucible of danger would endure. The helicopter lifted into the clear morning sky, carrying the squad and rescued civilians far from the hostile compound. Inside, the atmosphere was a mix of exhaustion, adrenaline, and relief. Soldiers sat quietly, tending to minor scrapes, adjusting gear, and catching fleeting breaths. The civilians, though safe, were traumatized, gripping each other's hands and seeking comfort. Lieutenant Sarah Collins moved among the squad and civilians, her presence calm yet commanding. Every movement, every word, reflected composure under pressure, ensuring the team remained focused until they were fully clear of danger. Seated slightly apart, observed her with a measured expression. His usual smirk was gone, replaced by a subdued acknowledgement. For days, he had challenged her authority, tested her decisions, and pushed the squad to the brink of cohesion and morale. Now, witnessing her command in real combat, he understood the breadth of her skill. Quietly, he adjusted his body armor, his hands steady. He would not speak immediately, but the respect in his eyes was undeniable. Sarah had not only survived his scrutiny, she had earned his admiration through action, courage, and precision. Back at base, debriefing commenced. Colonel addressed the team, his voice formal but infused with pride. Lieutenant Collins led this operation with exemplary leadership. Her strategy, clarity, and execution ensured mission success and the safety of all personnel and civilians. Every one of you performed admirably under her direction, and your cohesion speaks to her ability to lead effectively under extreme conditions. Soldiers nodded, some exchanging glances whose acknowledgement, though restrained, carried weight. Sarah's debriefing report was meticulous. She recounted every movement, every decision, every contingency. Her analysis highlighted successes, acknowledged minor setbacks, and offered recommendations for improving future operations. The squad listened intently, recognizing that her approach balanced accountability with encouragement, critique with affirmation. Once critical and skeptical, contributed tactical notes in alignment with her observations. His voice, now cooperative rather than confrontational, added experience without undermining authority, reflecting a partnership forged through mutual respect. The personal impact of the mission on the squad was immediate. Soldiers who had doubted Sarah's abilities now spoke quietly of her competence. Confidence had replaced hesitation. Her leadership had been proven in the crucible of combat, and the bond forged through shared risk and successful action was unbreakable. Even younger, less experienced members who had initially relied on instinct now trusted her judgment instinctively. She had earned credibility not through position alone, but through demonstrated capability under the most challenging circumstances imaginable. As the day progressed, Sarah conducted a final inspection of her squad. Equipment was checked, minor injuries tended to, and morale reinforced. She spoke privately to who remained stoic but respectful. "Sergeant, your experience was invaluable," she said. "The squad performed because we worked together. Your support made a difference." Caught off guard, simply nodded, a subtle acknowledgement of partnership and respect. There were no words of overt praise, but his demeanor conveyed what words could not. He had witnessed her leadership firsthand and could not deny it. The rescued civilians were reunited with relief teams, their expressions reflecting gratitude and incredulity at the precision and courage of the operation. Sarah observed quietly, noting their emotional states, ensuring they were safe and comfortable. Leadership extended beyond tactical decisions. It encompassed responsibility for those under your protection, a truth she had proven in action. The squad watched her, silently internalizing her example. The mission had tested every skill, every decision, every ounce of courage, and the outcome was undeniable. She had led successfully. In the quiet moments afterward, finally approached her privately. His voice was low but sincere. "Lieutenant, I misjudged you. I thought leadership came only from years in the field, experience earned over decades. Today, I saw that it comes from clarity, decisiveness, and the ability to inspire confidence under pressure. You have all of that." Sarah offered a simple nod, appreciating the acknowledgement without fanfare. The tension between them had dissolved, replaced by professional respect forged through shared trials. Colonel called a formal recognition ceremony later that day. Sarah stood with her squad as he presented commendations, acknowledging their bravery and operational success. The room was filled with quiet pride, some soldiers smiling with relief and pride, others exchanging glances that conveyed admiration and trust. Stood near the back, watching closely. He remained stoic outwardly, but his posture reflected newfound respect. Leadership, he had realized, was demonstrated through action, courage, and unwavering composure, not arrogance or position alone. As evening descended, Sarah returned to her quarters, exhausted but fulfilled. The day's events replayed in her mind. Every tactical decision, every split-second calculation, every moment of calm under pressure. She reflected not with ego but with understanding. Leadership was a responsibility, a test, and a practice honed through experience and action. Grudging respect, now clear, was symbolic of a larger truth. Trust and authority were earned, not demanded. The mission had proven her capabilities not only to skeptics, but to herself, solidifying her confidence and resolve. The squad, now resting, remained cohesive. Conversations about the mission were filled with technical insights, lessons learned, and mutual appreciation. Bonds formed in high-stress operations ran deeper than those built in training exercises or casual camaraderie. Sarah had guided them through a crisis with clarity, decisiveness, and courage. Acknowledgement, though subtle, reinforced the legitimacy of her leadership. Her influence was secure, established not through assertion or intimidation, but through consistent demonstration of skill and responsibility under fire. As night fell over the base, Sarah allowed herself a quiet moment of reflection. The day had been grueling, testing every aspect of leadership, decision-making, and courage. Yet through strategy, composure, and decisiveness, the mission had succeeded. The squad's trust had been earned, respect secured, and lives had been saved. She had proven that leadership was measured in action, decisiveness, and care for those under one's command. Tomorrow, she knew, would bring new challenges, but the foundation she had built, tested in fire and earned through results, would remain unshakable. The sun rose over Fort with a crisp clarity, casting golden light over the base and illuminating the returning squad. Lieutenant Sarah Collins walked through the gates with measured steps, the weight of the past days evident but controlled in her posture. Soldiers and officers alike watched as she approached the debriefing hall, whispers circulating about the successful operation and her exemplary leadership. The mission had tested every skill, decision, and ounce of courage, and the results were undeniable. All hostages were safe, the squad had sustained no casualties, and the operation had been executed flawlessly. Colonel awaited her inside the hall, a commanding presence softened by rare pride. Soldiers filed in behind her, the squad standing in formation, a unified team forged through fire and shared responsibility. Standing slightly apart, maintained his usual stoicism, yet there was a subtle shift, a respect unspoken, evident in his straightened posture and attentive gaze. The air was thick with anticipation as the colonel addressed the room. "Lieutenant Collins," he began, "your leadership has not only ensured the success of a highly complex mission, but has also demonstrated the qualities of a true officer: decisiveness, calm under pressure, and the ability to inspire confidence in every member of your team." Sarah nodded respectfully, acknowledging the commendation without arrogance. She knew the mission's success was not hers alone. It was a team effort, every soldier's performance critical. Yet the recognition validated her choices, her composure, and her leadership style. Shifted slightly, his arms folded, silently acknowledging that he had underestimated her abilities. Over the past days, he had challenged her at every turn, testing her authority and competence. Now, with the mission complete and the team intact, there was no doubt. She had proven herself in action, under the harshest of conditions. The squad's cohesion was palpable. Soldiers who had questioned her decisions now exchanged glances of trust and pride. They had followed her lead through danger, chaos, and uncertainty, and had emerged victorious. Sarah moved among them quietly, offering subtle acknowledgments and guidance, reinforcing morale and camaraderie. The lessons of trust, preparation, and adaptability were evident in their posture, their confidence, and their synchronized actions. Watching her interact with the squad could no longer deny the depth of her capability. After the formal commendation, a private meeting was held between Sarah and Colonel. Maps, reports, and debriefing notes lay across the table. "Your performance exceeded expectations, Collins," he said, his tone precise but imbued with genuine approval. "Not only did you manage the tactical execution perfectly, but you also inspired confidence in the team under circumstances that would have challenged even the most seasoned officers." Sarah listened attentively, her mind already analyzing areas for improvement and lessons learned for future missions. She appreciated the feedback but knew that true leadership was continuous, never fully complete. Approached later, his demeanor unreadable at first. "Lieutenant," he said quietly, "I've spent years in the field leading men through operations that tested every ounce of skill and patience. I doubted you openly at times. Today I saw something I hadn't expected. A leader who could make rapid decisions, maintain composure under fire, and earn the unwavering trust of her squad. You've earned my respect." Sarah looked at him, acknowledging the statement with a calm nod. No words were needed beyond that. The recognition was mutual, a professional respect cemented by shared trials and proven ability. The squad returned to routine duties over the next days, but the impact of the mission lingered. Soldiers spoke quietly among themselves, recounting moments of precision, courage, and coordination, all guided by Sarah's decisions. Her reputation as a leader capable of navigating both strategy and human dynamics had. Even new recruits who had initially been skeptical now approached her for guidance and advice. The foundation of trust she had built during the mission extended beyond that operation, influencing the culture of the squad and inspiring confidence across the unit. That evening, Sarah sat alone in her quarters, reviewing the mission's events in detail. Maps were annotated, decisions documented, and lessons analyzed. She reflected on the challenges: skepticism, the squad's initial hesitancy, the unpredictability of live operations, and the high-stakes decisions that had determined life or death. Each moment had demanded clarity, composure, and decisiveness. The mission had been more than a test of tactical skill. It had been a test of character, resilience, and the ability to inspire trust under extreme pressure. Despite the exhaustion, there was a quiet satisfaction in her reflection. Leadership was not about recognition or accolades. It was about responsibility, accountability, and the lives entrusted to one's guidance. She thought of the hostages, the squad, and even a grudging respect, understanding that true authority was earned in action, not assumed through rank alone. The mission had validated her approach, leading through competence, calm decisiveness, and care for those under her command. The next morning, the squad gathered briefly for a final review and morale check. Laughter mixed with serious discussion as soldiers recounted moments of tension and ingenuity, celebrating both the operation's success and their collective growth. Now an active supporter rather than a critic, offered tactical insights, sharing his experience while deferring to Sarah's command. The dynamic had shifted completely. A team once fraught with tension now operated in harmony, respect earned through proven leadership and mutual trust. Sarah addressed the team one last time before dispersal. "You all performed with courage, precision, and trust. Today proved that leadership is more than rank. It's about action, responsibility, and earning the confidence of those around you. Carry this forward in every mission, every operation, and every decision. Trust one another, trust your training, and trust those who lead with integrity." Soldiers nodded, their faces reflecting admiration, respect, and renewed confidence. Nod was subtle but firm, a final acknowledgement of her authority and success. As the sun rose higher over the base, Sarah walked the training grounds alone for a moment, reflecting on the past days. The mission had tested her limits, challenged her resolve, and proven her leadership under extreme circumstances. The respect she had earned, the trust she had fostered, and the lives she had protected were lasting reminders that true authority is forged through action, courage, and unwavering composure. Lieutenant Sarah Collins had faced intimidation, skepticism, and high-stakes danger. She had led decisively, protected lives, and achieved victory. In doing so, she had transformed both her squad and herself, leaving an indelible mark on the unit and on those who had witnessed her leadership firsthand. The mission was complete, but its lessons would endure, proof that true leaders rise not from titles, but from courage, clarity, and the ability to inspire trust in the moments that matter most. And so the squad returned to routine, the mission behind them but its lessons alive. Sarah Collins, once doubted, now stood respected, her authority unquestioned, her leadership proven, and her legacy secured, forever remembered by those who followed her through danger and emerged victorious.